The new Lexus RX was unveiled about 6 or so months ago, and I've been looking at this car for a while now, and I'm really surprised with how Lexus has managed to keep the overstyling trend that they've been doing for a while now and still make it look good. I don't know of any other manufacturer that manages to mix this type of overstyling with a really good looking car, and specifically when you compare it to the previous model. I'm going to show you that from front, side, and rear, and also the interior, and talk about this overstyling, but it's still somehow works. So the new 2023 Lexus RX will have powertrains ranging from 246 horsepower up to 367, and it's on sale right here in the US right now with a starting price of around $50,000. The wheels, we need to talk about the wheels because, as you know, wheels are super important for how the car is planted on the ground. So you can have either 19-inch wheels, which is standard across the entire lineup, or you can option for the 21-inch wheels, which is obviously what I would do. The wheelbase is also longer, so it grew, but it doesn't really look like it's longer when we look at the side view. It's 2.4 inches longer in the wheelbase. It's a very interesting approach to modernizing this car. So looking at this from the previous generation, this was super overstylized in my opinion. I think this was when Lexus just went crazy with the lines absolutely everywhere. I don't know why they decided to put the fog light down here at the very bottom in this chamfer and then have a different design or outline graphic features for this detail right here that doesn't really connect to anything else in the front end. We also have this sharp line or border between where the hood stops and where the grille starts, which pretty much every other car has, but Lexus came up with something cool. I've heard so many opinions about this RX, specifically about the front end design, and people don't really like this styling where you have this shelf up here that then kind of morphs into the grille, the opening of the grille from these patterns, almost like a gradient into the black grille. I think it's a really cool idea, and you start to see this more on other Lexus, specifically their concept cars, and I think this treatment is something new, and I think Lexus is onto something here, and I think this is going to be implemented in a lot more Lexus models moving forward. But just have a look at how much cleaner this area is in the new RX. We have one line, one shelf for the headlight to sit on, which looks very beautiful, and still have the L shape, which is typical for Lexus LEDs. You can recognize this car at night as well. And then we have this a lot cleaner setup for the lower intake with a tiny little fog light down here instead of having it be right here as a triangle like we have in the previous generation. The previous generation, it was unique, definitely. Nothing looks like the old RX, and nothing looks like the new RX either. It still looks pretty over stylized with all these lines going everywhere, but they somehow managed to make it work. The only thing, I talked about this in my previous video of the RX, is this part. The only thing that I would like to change is this weird section down here. I can't read this. I don't know what's going on. I can see that there's a sharp line right about here, but in this area, I'm not sure what's going on here and how it kind of bends in the shape. It's very difficult to read, and this, as I said, is 2.4 inches longer in the wheelbase. But I also said it doesn't really look like it. They look like they have the exact same wheelbase, but that's not the fact. This is bigger than before. For some reason, I think this looks smaller than the previous generation. I think that has to do with the cleanup of the designs and just the line flow overall. I also like the front end from a side view now has a straight horizontal line, which in the previous generation looked a little more complex than we have in the new generation. Looking at the rear view, I think this combination with the front end is the best upgrade for the new Lexus RX. I love what they did with these taillights and just have one line. Look at this line going here over the taillights and creating this very nice small chamfer to create a proper housing for the taillights. I really love that part. And looking at the old generation, we have this line going in, and then we have another line cutting in here, and a third line up here that obviously is symmetrical on both sides. And then we have these lines at the bottom as well, kind of resembling the front end grille, the same feeling with all these lines almost pointing into the Lexus logo. And we still have that in the new generation. We have this line at the bottom going in here, cutting in beautifully into the surface of the car, and then pointing straight up to the new Lexus logo, which is spelled out in the new one, which I think looks a lot better than the logo up here. And we also have this section being a lot cleaner in the new Lexus RX. It's basically just one single chamfer at the top of the taillights, while here there's a lot going on, not just in the styling of the taillights, but also in this section, the chamfer that sits above it. Going further down, there is a lot going on in this lower part diffuser as well. It feels like they just tried to think of where can we put a new angle on our design. Even the exhaust pipes, as you can see, have a very unique shape to them, and that is obviously cleaned up in the new RX down here. I really like how this is implemented in the rear, and also how this graphic goes in to the side. So we have in the front and then going all the way to the side into the back, having this black part right here kind of reduces the visual mass of the car. And a trend that we have right now is to start to hide the exhaust pipes, because as you know, we're moving more into electric and hybrid vehicles, so exhaust pipes are essentially becoming obsolete, and it creates a cleaner design in the rear. I'm not sure if the exhaust pipes are going to be visible on the F Sport, for example. I think they would suit the F Sport to have some sort of exhaust pipes visible down here at the bottom, probably some square ones similar to what we have here, just a little cleaner. So looking at the interior, this is where I think also a big massive upgrade from the previous generation. We even had a CD player in the old one, as you can see right here. I'm not sure who uses CDs anymore, but they had it in the previous generation Lexus RX. But the biggest thing here that I want to thank Lexus for is that they created a digital gauge cluster, but you can see that we still have a proper nice cozy little house for it. And then in typical Toyota Lexus fashion, they created a little overstyling. They couldn't help themselves. They had to do a little overstyling in the interior for the outline of the infotainment screen, and this is a typical Toyota Lexus design of this screen that goes in different angles and have different chamfers on it and all kinds of stuff going on there. Overall, super clean interior. I really like this design. I also like the old one. I think this is super clean as well, specifically with this trim piece that kind of flows nicely from the driver's side up here into the passenger, and then down here in the middle of the center console on one side. I think that's a beautiful touch of the new RX. I want to hear your thoughts on the Lexus RX. Are you a fan specifically when we look at this front end? This is what I want to hear your opinion on, because you know, for me, it's an obvious improvement compared to the old one, where not just the integration, you know, the gradient going from the hood into the grille, but also the lines. Here we have a lot of lines going on in different angles. It has a little bit of a corner in this section, while in the new one, not just do we have this beautiful gradient, but the line is also a lot more distinct and a lot more confident without having too many angles in the front end. I've heard, as I said, a lot of opinions about this, and a lot of them are negative towards the new RX, but I want to hear your opinion and why you think one of these is better than the other. Do you prefer the old one or do you prefer the new one? Let me know in the comments below.